Now that you can move and control an object around the stage, you'll now probably want to detect when these objects collide or intersect with other objects. Go ahead and open up the detect_collision file, control test movie, and notice that this script is also working here for controlling our spaceship, the angle and the direction it moves. But notice that I have now a collision script that detects when these two objects on the stage collide with each other. So I did this using two methods, or I can do this using two methods of the display object class, hit test object or hit test point. The hit test object method enables you to test whether the bounding box of any two objects intersect. Remember that the bounding box of an object is the minimum rectangular area that contains the graphics of that object. This is the best method for our games where graphics are colliding with other graphics on the stage, such as the ladybug game that I showed you earlier, where the ladybugs were running over the spiders or the hearts. You can also use one of these methods to determine when a user lets go or drops an object that they're moving with their mouse. In this example, we're testing to see if the spaceship movie clip is currently intersecting with the asteroid movie clip. You can see the script here in the detect collision file right here. If spaceship movie clip dot hit test object asteroid movie clip equals true, then do some things. Now the second method that we can also use checks whether a certain XY coordinate intersects with an object. This method can be seen here in the detect collision _point file. Let's open that up and notice that here I'm using the spaceship movie clip dot hit test point asteroid movie clip. Then I have an X and Y coordinate here. In other words, it's checking to see if the X and Y coordinates of the asteroid movie clip have intersected with the spaceship movie clip. So this method is point specific, and you want to make this your choice for checking whether the registration point of a graphic or the mouse pointer intersects with another object. If we do a control test movie, you'll see the difference. I think this one actually works better in our case here because the spaceship actually collides with the asteroid before I get the animation of the explosion. Compare that to the detect collision. They're slightly different, but you'll notice that with the detect collision, as soon as the bounding box of the movie clip hits the bounding box of the asteroid, I get the explosion, which is a little bit premature for this version here. More about the script here in the object collision _point file using the hit test point method a little bit later. But for now, let's go back to the object _collision file and let me review the active scripts here. All I'm actually doing is adding the collision to the end of my object move file. So I reviewed these scripts in the previous movie. Go ahead and add on the stage another object, an asteroid object. I have an animation for mine, but you can actually choose just a static object. Convert it to a movie clip. Give it an instance name. In this case, I'm calling it asteroid _movie clip. Now what you want to do is add an enter frame event listener to the stage. This will continuously check for this hit test object method. Add a function to run when that event is detected. In between the curly braces of the enter frame function, write a conditional that includes the instance name of the spaceship movie clip, which is object 1, followed by the hit test object method, and then the name of the second object, in this case my asteroid movie clip. Notice that the asteroid movie clip is in parentheses, and then write two equal signs, and then true. In other words, if it's true that the spaceship movie clip has overlapped or intersected with the asteroid movie clip, then go down to the next line. Now here what I'm doing is I'm moving the spaceship movie clip to the next frame. That's going to be an empty frame, so the spaceship disappears, and I'm also moving the timeline, the asteroid timeline, to frame 80, and I'm stopping it. So let's have a look at these two movie clips. First, the spaceship. Notice that here in frame 2 the spaceship disappears. double click on the asteroid. The asteroid consists of an animation. This thing is spinning, and then frame 80 is the explosion right here. Obviously, I probably would want to clean this up and have an animation of an explosion, maybe a sound effect, and then maybe the explosion grows and then disappears as well, making that animation look more realistic. But you get the idea that I'm just simply controlling these two timelines of the movie clips to show the graphics that I want when the collision has been detected. Now, after you check that your script is written exactly like mine here, don't forget the curly braces. Also, remember, I'm adding this script to the end of my object move script. So I tested that in the previous movie, made sure it was working. You want to do the same. Then add your collision detection script. Make sure it looks just like mine, and then do a control test movie. Make sure you get no errors, nothing in the output panel. Collide your two objects. Make sure that the playhead is moving to frame 80 of the asteroid, showing the explosion. It's moving to frame 2 of the spaceship movie clip, which is empty, so the spaceship disappears. You could also have an explosion of the spaceship perhaps there in frame 2 animation. Now you can also replace the hit test object method with the hit test point method. Have a look at the detect collision point file for this one. Notice that everything's the same except for this line right here. I'm replacing the hit test object with the hit test point. Here I've set up my coordinates for my asteroid, the X and Y registration points. And then I've added one more parameter. This false parameter is the shape flag parameter. This indicates whether Flash should use the bounding box of the object, which is false, or the shape of the graphics in the object in deciding if the point is in contact with the object. Go ahead and choose false first, then do a test movie. This is going to look very similar to the other file. As soon as I cross over the X and Y registration point of that asteroid, I get a collision. If I set this to true, I think this probably looks the best. Now I'm ignoring the bounding box, and I'm actually using the shape of the graphic, the asteroid graphic. This probably looks the best of my options here. Notice that the spaceship really collides with that asteroid right there before it explodes. Maybe too late. The other one is probably too early. So there you have two methods for detecting collisions between objects that are moving on your stage: hit test point and hit test object. Let's now move on to the next movie and review scripts for creating timers and clocks.